All right. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Matters of the Heart and Soul podcast. This is Janie, Charlot, your host, and Russell Bruce.
Hello, everybody out there.
All right, so we're doing something new on this episode. We have a few things going, so bear with us. We are actually recording on a few things right now, and we decided to kind of do Facebook Live just in case some people want to ask a few questions, and we will do our best to answer those questions. So on this episode, we are talking about living from the inside out, okay? And what we really want to hone in is how to do that, first of all. What is living from the inside out, and why right now is so important to start doing that if you're not already doing that. So basically, living from the inside out is all about turning inward, turning yourself inward, realizing what's going on internally, mentally and emotionally, and radiating that back out. So that actually requires us to be very authentic, very truthful with ourselves, okay? And then when you can do that, you can really, really, really live from the inside out and radiate the truth of who you are from inside out. So let's go ahead and get started. Russell has interesting research he wants to share on that.
All right, let's jump right into it. You want to throw that slide up there real quick?
Okay, so I'm going to share the screen.
All right, so basically, this is something that I posted this several times over the last few years, but I started posting it probably about 10 years ago, and it's titled The Locus of Control Theory. And here, let me tell you guys basically a little bit of what this actually means, because it's tied into what we're going to discuss today. The term locus of control was first introduced in the 1950s by psychologist Julian Rotter. It refers to a person's basic belief system about the influences that affect the outcomes of their lives. There are two classifications of people in this theory: internal and external locus of control. The most successful people tend to be internal, while those with an external locus of control tend to be more negative about the world and their place in it. People with an internal locus of control believe that they are primarily responsible for the outcomes in their lives. These people tend to be self-reliant and believe that nothing can hold them back except themselves. Studies have shown that those with an internal locus of control tend to be more successful people because they believe that they can work toward a goal. And studies have also shown that the older a person gets, the more internally focused they become. Those with an external locus of control believe that forces outside of themselves affect their ability to succeed. They tend to stake their future on such things as fate, luck, God, and society. Because they believe that they have very little personal stake in their future, those with an external locus of control tend to put less effort forward on most projects. Studies show that generally they're less successful in college and career than those with an internal locus of control. So this is just one theory. There are many studies out there in reference to this. You'll hear things, whether it's from a religious belief, like in scripture, Jesus says something like, so a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. It doesn't say how many cars or houses or how much money or how many women or men that they have determine, who they are. It's what you think on the inside.
Mm-hmm. And in this little diagram, which is kind of interesting, you see both sides, internal control and external control. And you see here, internal control, you make things happen. So as you can see, the person is actually radiating everything outward from himself or herself. So I make things happen. Look what I could do. I can determine my future. I can determine my fate, okay? On this other opposite side, you have external control, and things happen to you. So you kind of have, as you could see, you have this person, and all these outside external control factors are determining how this person is living their life. So there's nothing I can do about my future. So that's dependent on politics, dependent on religion, dependent on things to determine your future. Why bother? Because I can't change anything on the outside of me. And then it's like, why does everything happen to me? So that's external control. All right. So we just wanted to kind of start with that so you guys could understand where we're coming from with living life from the inside out, because I personally believe that that is truly the key to happiness, is the key to creating the life that you really want, regardless of what's going on around you. And right now we are being bombarded with so many things externally. So I'm going to just stop sharing that real quickly. And we'll go ahead and get started. So what I was saying was that there's so many things externally that bombards us every day. So it's the news, it's television, it's what's going on in the politics, it's what's going on in the healthcare, what's the new virus, what's the new bacteria, it's who's shooting up who then committed suicide. It's so many things that's bombarding us. Not only that, we're getting notified by this all the time. If you have notifications turned on your cell phone, you're getting notified when your money hits the bank. You're getting notified when the stock market changes. You're getting notified, when your friends are texting you, they're trying to tell you something. So we're constantly getting bombarded by external stimuli. And if you don't take control of what's going on the outside of you, you're gonna lose it. And we see people, if we could be honest, we see people losing it right now. So it's so important to start truly tapping in internally.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And you can see like the rates of suicide, homicide, road rage, good gosh. Road rage is like an all-time high. And I've never seen so many women committing some of the most heinous acts that at one point in time that only men acted out. But today, you see women and children even getting a piece of action. So it's it's a very, very important time. We're living in one of the most pivotal times in human history. And, people hear of global warming, all these different things, and they don't realize it's actually having an effect on the human psyche and consciousness. So you want to be on the positive side of what's actually happening. It's also, even though it looks like a bad time, it's also a very great time for those who really understand and are putting in the work to really turn their lives around and the lives of others to kind of bring a more joyous, heavenly type atmosphere here to Earth.
Yep. All right. So we want to talk about, how do we do that? How do we live from the inside out? And like I said, when we first opened this podcast, we said that we have to be 100% honest with who we are. So that means being honest with your desires, being honest with who you want to be, what career you want to be in, being truly authentic. And when we're authentic, when we're true to who we are, we actually combat emotions like anxiety and depression and pressure and all that other stuff. Why? Because we're living in the truth of who we are. We're not trying to meet the expectations of people outside of our own universe that's within us. So when you are trying to meet the expectations of people outside of you, when you're trying to be somebody that you're not, or you just, you don't know how to tell people no, you go away slowly but surely away from your authentic and true self. And now you're moving towards somebody that you're not, all because of external stimuli. Okay.
Yeah, and that's the difference between how a lot of people say in relationships, the representative.
Yep, that's true.
It's like most people come with the representative because it's based upon all these external factors of what people expect, right? So, you hear people say, you have to make X amount of dollars, you have to wear certain type of clothing, you have to, drive a certain car, live in a certain neighborhood. These things are all external, And what happens, a lot of people get in relationships or say in businesses with people only to find out later that there's something going on in the minds and hearts of these people.
Yeah.
So, they normally say you learn more about people at the end of a relationship. And that's business as well, right? Businesses, friendship, co-workers, you tend to learn more about them at the end of the relationship than you did at the beginning, because most people do things backwards. They look at everything externally, and
Yep.
and then when it all ends, they're like, wow, they were really crazy, they were deceitful, they were crooked, or what have you. But I think, if we start working on those things on ourselves, we tend to look at other people the same way, so it's like, if you understand that you're a divine being and you work to become the best version of yourself, when you deal with other people, you actually look at them as a divine being, and you look at them internally first instead of externally.
Yep.
All
So
right.
be authentic. Be authentic. Be authentic. Okay. So the second thing we want to talk about is shutting off the external world. Okay. Like, we do podcasting, and we put these on different platforms, but my social media is very limited. And when I am on social media, it's for purpose. It's to inspire, it's to motivate, it's to give information. I'm not just spending hours and hours, right clicking or left clicking or swiping left or swiping right just to kill time. I'm using it on purpose. So you have to shut out the world. That means turning off your television. That means stop watching the news. And depending on your industry, like, some people are around negative things all the time. So I'm just going to say, let's say, you work in an industry, let's say you're a police officer, or let's say you're covering news, but it's negative, and you work at a news station, or you're a police officer and you're around negative things. This is lodging in your subconscious mind. So, and you wonder why you see the world in a negative way. It's because that's all you're feeding yourself. Okay. It's all programming. The television, social media, it's all programming. Also, other people's drama. Shut it off. Don't get involved with other people's drama, because now you're taking on stuff that don't even belong to you. Don't get involved with people's drama. And I mentioned earlier, turn off your notifications, because you're getting all this stuff that has nothing to do with you. So when you lay down at night, you can't sleep because your mind is still going. You can't sleep.
You don't have your own thoughts either.
It's not your thoughts, and you don't understand what's yours and what's not. And if you are a sensitive person, if you are an empath, if you're very sensitive to stimuli, you really have to shut yourself down and limit the amount of time that you are engaged in external stimuli that doesn't belong to you, because sometimes empaths don't know how to separate those boundaries. So you're taking on energy and emotions and things that don't belong to you. All right. So learn how to protect your energy, especially if you're an empath.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to share was, like you were mentioning how, you could even look at like people who come back from war, right? They have PTSD. I think most people could relate, either have a family member or a friend or whatever who probably suffers from PTSD. We've interviewed some people who have been, say, sexually molested or whatever, and they have PTSD from some of the incidents.
Mm-hmm.
So we have things that occur in our daily lives that if we don't deal with them, we could have many bouts of anxiety or PTSD, not on that same scale, but in little forms. For me, like living from the inside out, I was talking to Janie earlier today, and I was just telling her, as a kid, it's like we didn't grow up with cell phones. So when you went to the restroom and you were in that restroom, say 10, 15, 20 minutes, however long you're in there, if you weren't reading a newspaper or your mama had the Jet magazines laying next to the toilet or whatever, you are in very deep thought, and you're really like in a form of meditation.
Yeah,
right?
we're gonna give that later on. Don't give it away too fast.
Okay, all right. Right, but those
Yeah,
are
we're
your
gonna talk
thoughts.
about
Those are
that.
your thoughts. But when you're sitting there watching the news and all this other stuff, those are not your thoughts.
Yeah. So shut it off, guys, and go inward. Go inward, okay? Prioritize who and what gets your time and energy. I cannot say that enough. When I started doing that, it was like I had so much time to put into purpose because I was no longer just giving energy and time to things that was not a part of what I should be doing. So I recommend personally just to prioritize yourself in the people and the things, your top 1 to 3 or 1 to 5. Prioritize things that are priority to you that gets your time and attention. And if it doesn't fit into those top 5, then it could wait, or maybe it has to be eliminated from your life completely.
That's true. Like the most successful people spend more time on the things that are moving them towards their goals. So if you have these 10 or 15 things that occur in your day on a regular basis, you can sit there, do inventory, look at them. Which ones are moving you towards your goal? Which ones are not? The ones that are moving you towards your goal, you should be spending at least 80 to 90% of your time doing those things, if not 100% if possible.
Yeah, for sure. Prioritize who and what gets your time, okay, and energy, because energy is currency just as much as your money and everything in your time. So just prioritize, and if it doesn't fit in there, leave it out. All right.
At times non-refundable.
Yeah. Next one is one of my favorites. Learn to say no. Okay. No is powerful. And know that when you are saying no to something or someone else, you are saying yes to yourself. I personally had to learn saying no because, I'm one of those people that if I have, I give. If I can do it, I'll do it. And that's fine. But you have givers and takers in this world. And the more you give, people are going to keep taking. So learn how to say no. And that goes with every and anybody. That goes with your children. That goes with your spouse. That goes with your best friends. That goes with your job. If you've done your part and you don't have any more to give, no, I just can't. And that's okay to say. And the people that love you are going to accept that. They're going to be okay with that. They'll understand.
Eventually.
Yeah. So the next one is detox. That's a good one. So detox means getting rid of the things, the people, the habits, the food, everything in your life that is really taking from you. Okay. So also be careful with music. All right. Music is a big external factor that could really affect your internal. Personally, we only do love music. Why? Because it keeps us in the love vibration. If I was listening to Shoot It Up, Bang Bang, guess what? That's what I would be in the vibration of. All of it. So all of that, the lyrics, we have little kids singing lyrics and they don't even know what they're singing, but guess what? It's lodging into their subconscious mind. So we have little kids, little girls, little boys, doing twerking, whatever, and they have no clue what that is. But because they hearing it, is lodging in their subconscious mind, they're seeing it on the TV, now they're acting it out. And that goes with everything else.
Yeah, it's just like the food that you put in your body. You want to put the best foods in your body. You want to put the best sounds in your head. You want to put the best visions, into your eyes, into your brain. And
yes,
that would tell you a lot about a person.
Yeah.
It's like what's in your CD deck in your car? Like, what are you listening to? Because if you're not going to the gym, some of that more rough edge type stuff, it has this place, but your life is like a movie, and the music that you listen to is your soundtrack. Like, what is your soundtrack?
Yeah. So detox. Okay. Take 1 week and notice if you stop watching TV, you stop listening to certain music, you stop even calling certain friends because certain friends, they just want to dump on you. And so, and you're taking in all that. So detox. And Russell mentioned food. That's very important. Certain foods give us anxiety, gives us depression. It totally alters our mood. So watch the processed food, watch the things that you're putting into your body because it does affect your internal world. Okay. So next is face your emotions. I like talking about this. Emotions is our total internal world. All right. It is literally everything we feel internally. You have to face your emotions. All right. You have to face them. You have to learn how to deal with them in a healthy way. And if you've been accustomed to just pushing it under the rug, one day you're gonna have a meltdown. You're gonna have and we're seeing it now. People are really, really acting out emotionally because these things have been suppressed for so long. So learn how to feel your emotions. You have to feel it. All right. You cannot heal or resolve anything that you cannot heal or cannot face.
Yeah, and especially with men, because right now, male suicide is at a high, and men aren't like women. Like women have, they move in circles. They have support groups. I think the ego of most men keep men from wanting to even say that something's wrong. Just know that it's okay to not be okay sometimes, but don't stay there. Things do happen. Let's deal with it. Find somebody to talk to get it off your chest. Because otherwise, what happens is people tend to just allow things to fester. And, now you have the 300-pound gorilla over in the corner, and, all of a sudden their coffee's not hot enough or something happens, and boom, the building's getting shot up or a fight breaks out. And that's not even what it was about. It was just pent up emotions that have never been discussed or healed. So this is definitely like a time of healing. Most of us, we're dealing with stuff that happened back in our childhood. It really has nothing to do with what's going on today. But, when, going back to that internal and external locus theory of control, it's like we've given up our sovereignty as human beings, and we've given the power to the schools and the government and to religion and all these things
External.
to dictate who we are. And it's like, people, if you don't define who you are, somebody else is going to do that for you.
Well, they've been doing it all this time. We've been programmed so much. So it's going to keep going. I mean, I was telling Russell today, like, you go on Instagram and it's the main page. It's crazy. It's over sexualized. It's like it's just so much stuff that is just competing for your attention and competing and competing. And it's like you have to shut it off because you are going to go crazy, literally.
There's like 1,000 rabbit holes.
Yeah, and all of this stuff is to bring out emotion. It's to bring out emotion, and believe it or not, some people thrive on your emotions because they can't feel it for themselves, so they thrive on bringing it out in you. And most times is the emotion of fear that they want to bring out because they thrive on that emotion. So just know, handle your emotions, feel your emotions, heal your emotions. But and that's not an excuse to emote in a very unhealthy way either. You can't go from one extreme to the other. You have to do it in a healthy way.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to all of the trolls and bots out there. I've been getting some trolls and bots on my page.
Yeah, Russell has. Yeah. And he's been doing really good with controlling his emotions.
Yeah, people want to engage you and get under your skin.
They do. It's crazy. And it's like, I just feel like we should all be bringing out the best in each other. We shouldn't be bringing out the negative. And we're not all going to agree. That's life, and we shouldn't, because that's how duality is. That's how we can know what's left and what's right, because there's differences. But it's like we have to stay in the middle. We have to stay in the middle.
Yeah, and I just keep your mental self-defense on guard. And I'm thankful for them. I'm
The
thankful for all
bots.
the good stuff, but I'm thankful for them as well because they keep me on my toes.
Yeah.
And blocking is my friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Next up is allow your authentic self to be expressed. So it's
Who
like,
are you?
yeah, like if you feel happy, express that. Like it's okay. Like I know some people who never smile. And if you ask them, hey man, you never smile, they're like, well, I'm really happy. Well, really? Now, your energy doesn't lie. Okay. So even if you're trying to fake the funk and say that you're happy on the outside, the energy you're giving off is saying you're very unhappy. So energy never lies. So you can, and I call that wearing a mask. When you're trying to express something differently on the outside than what you're really feeling on the inside, that's a mask. It's a mask.
Yeah, and that goes back to something we touched on several of our podcasts, that the universe doesn't respond to what you say. The universe is responding to what you're emoting, like
Exactly.
what you're feeling. Like your emotions are energy in motion. Like, so if somebody says, how are you doing today? And deep down inside you're horrible, everything's screwed up upside down, and you're like, oh, I'm good, like that. And the energy that you're exuding, that's what the universe is going to respond to, that energy, not what's coming out of your mouth. And once again, that's why a lot of bad things happen to good people, because they could be in a bad place. And I always use this as an example. You have the man or woman who, say, just went through a breakup and ended a relationship, and they're really, really a good person, right? When they're on top of their game, they're really a good catch. And they're just down and out, and they're defeated. And instead of them taking time to work on themselves, to get back to zero and to move forward, they're out there just because they don't want to be alone. They're trying to find a filler just to fill in the time, maybe somebody to go on a date. And the next thing you know, they end up in a relationship with a narcissist or somebody who just really doesn't mean them well.
Mhm.
And, bad things tend to happen, but it's because of what they're emoting. They have this either a victim mentality or a broken mentality, and people are out there seeking to take advantage of people like that, unfortunately. So really watch yourself, and always take that time to go in solitude, to spend that time alone, not be lonely, but solitude, you're working on yourself, so. And we all need that, whether you're in a relationship or not. You need that downtime to go in solitude, to build yourself up, to really figure out who you are as an individual and your connection to the Most High.
Yeah. Next, we recommend do energy work. What is energy work, Janie? Glad you asked. Energy work is there. We have these physical bodies, but we also have an energetic body. All right, and it's people call it your aura.
Your soul, your spirit,
all of that, right? But you do have an energetic body, okay? And we have chakras, all right? And chakras are actually energy centers in the body. One great way to clear your energy is go on YouTube, put in 10-minute energy clearing meditation, and you'll find a gazillion of them. All right. You could do 10-minute chakra energy clearing, and you will find a gazillion of them. Trust me, do it, especially if you're an empath, especially if you're around a lot of people who their energy is very tense, is very hard for you. Do it. I do it as maintenance. My life is very peaceful. We have a very peaceful home, but I work in the medical field. I'm around people. I talk to people. I do coaching. I do a lot of things. So I clear my energy every day. so that I know what's me and I know what's not me. So clear your energy, do energy work. And it's so much more. There's tons of ways. There's earthing or grounding that Russell and I do all the time.
Yeah. And that's something as simple as going outside barefoot.
Yep.
And standing out in your yard in the grass, let your feet connect to the earth.
And is that simple. And the science behind that is that we have tons of protons that we're getting bombarded with through cell phones, through microwave radiation, through, fiber, through all kind of things. And the earth has natural electrons as well. And what we do is when we can plant and ground into earth, the electrons come in and actually balance out all the protons that we have. So the earth keeps you balanced, and it also gets you back in balance with nature. If you're battling anything, a sickness, a headache, anything, I recommend earthing. It gets you back in tune with nature, which is what we should be in tune with anyway.
Yeah, and what it does is it floods your body with negative electrons. So like, cell phones, Wi-Fi, all these different things, we have all this energy. We're in an energy field. We don't see it. But even television signals, all of this stuff, we're walking in this
constantly
plasmic gook, right? And we're getting bombarded with all these positive electrons. So when you go outside and ground, the earth floods your body with the negative electrons to balance it out, right? And there's actually meters that you could order and measure these things. So they're measurable. We actually tested all this stuff out. And what it actually does is, and just to make it short, right? It actually floods your body with these negative electrons to the point where it fights inflammation. So you'll start to see things like your blood pressure be reduced. And you could actually measure it before and after just to see if this is true, right? Your blood flow increases, all these things. It does a whole bunch of positive stuff. There's a documentary out there called, it's the Earthing / Grounding documentary. If you pull it up, it's about an hour long. I suggest that you watch it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, don't take our word for it. Exactly. Go and do your own research.
A lot of research was done on this.
Whatever it resonates with you. And there's a lot of things you could get. There's grounding mats. We have one. We use it, especially like if you're working out and you get just inflammation or soreness. You could sit on the grounding mat. You put your feet on it. You could lay on it. Whatever it is, and it'll help with that inflammation as well.
Yeah, your recovery time speeds up.
Yeah. So that's energy work. The other one is shadow work. All right. I talked about shadow work on the podcast, but shadow work is looking at all your blind spots and working in the light to heal it. All right. So blind spots is those things that you don't see about yourself, but other people see. And sometimes if you hear the same complaint about yourself from more than one or two people, maybe that's something that is a blind spot for you, and there's some shadow work that you should be doing in that area. Meditate, that's a big one. Russell was actually talking a little bit about that, Russell, when you were saying about the toilet and the shower.
Right. So a lot of people think meditation is this new woo-woo stuff and all this. Listen, when you hear something that you don't understand, don't automatically say, hey, that's new age, right? Because basically all of this is ancient African stuff. None of this stuff is new.
There's nothing new under the sun.
And if anybody wants to talk to me about it, we can have that conversation. So meditation, right? A lot of people, look at meditation where you go sit somewhere in a quiet space or in a dark room and, cross your legs and do all this other stuff, right? And that's good.
And
right?
then some people can do that.
Right. But we all have the opportunity and we do it, right? So a lot of people don't like to quiet themselves down, like to lay down on the couch at night after you've taken your shower or lay in the bed. They turn the television on, the radio or whatever. They may not even be watching anything. They just want noise because they don't want to hear those inner thoughts, right? But like I was saying earlier, like as a kid growing up, when you go to the restroom, and everybody today, like when you go to the restroom, if you do not take your cell phone into the bathroom, nobody's there to bug you 9 times out of 10. Nobody's there to bug you. In that time, whether it's 10, 15, 20 minutes or whatever, you're able to really have some deep thoughts, like whether it's in the morning or at night, in that quiet, still voice that you hear. Listen to it and trust it, because what happens is if you don't, when you start watching CNN or Fox or whatever, those thoughts become your dominant thought. If you're bombarding yourself with television, radio, you have religion, you have, your work, you have all these things. Like, when do you tap in to your most high self, and you tap in and commune with the most high? Remember, Yeshua, Jesus said the kingdom is within, that people would search everywhere. The kingdom's within. And until you quiet down and you commune on the inside, you're not yourself. You become everything else, right? From the time we come out the womb, we're given a name, a social security number. They're giving you a tribe, a race. They're giving you everything. They're giving you a name. All these things are just identifiers, because you're none of these things. Like, this physical body is just where my soul resides. This is the temple. Russell is just a title so that everybody knows how to identify me. My mom couldn't name me anything. Matter of fact, she wanted to name me Dennis, right? But anyway, going back to what I was saying. So in the restroom's a good time. Matter of fact, don't take your cell phone into the restroom. Spend that time in deep thought, on things that you want to accomplish, on things that are going on in your life, and listen to the answers that come back.
Yeah.
You could tell if they're coming from a good spot or not. We're not stupid. So it's that. Then also, when you're in the shower, if you don't turn on the radio, you don't take that 10, 15 minutes in the shower, that's where people come up with some of their most brilliant ideas. Some of the most brilliant business ideas or whatever come during these times. Also during a walk. Like Janie and I spend a lot of time together, but there's times when she wants to go off and have a walk by herself, or I want to go to the gym or a walk by myself. Or another reason why we like being at the beach, going for long walks, and all you hear is just the ocean, or at night you just hear the ocean. You can sit out on the balcony and just listen, and you just tap in, or you watch the sunrise in the morning. These things are so humbling to the spirit, and allow you to tap in and come up with some of the most creative ideas. Like, we're many creators. We're offspring of the universal prime creator that put everything in motion: the stars, the sun, the moon, everything.
Yeah.
That creation is also within us.
Yeah.
If you look around, everything that you see in your home, or if you're outside, whether it's your house, a chair, a car, or what have you, it was first a mental, spiritual thought in somebody's head that was trapped into matter. Through thought, we could take matter and we could manifest it in the physical reality.
Yeah. That's
who we are. We're many creators.
And the better you get at creating, you're gonna manifest like this every time.
But it all starts up here.
It does start up there, and you have to clear the pathway. So if you got, the argument from last week, and then you have, your coworker, and then you have all these things bombarding you, your pathway is not clear. So you won't be a master manifester. And that's what we all here to do, is to master ourselves, and then to master our creations, because we are creators. I wanted to go back to something Russell said about the shower. It's one of the quickest and most simplest ways to have that time to yourself and to meditate. And I'll tell you a little bit, I also do visualization in the shower as well. because I use that water as a cleansing. And I use, sometimes I'll envision green lights, or I'll envision a white light cleansing me, okay? And then sometimes I'm visualizing what I want to happen that morning. If I'm taking my shower in the morning, if it's at night, I'm cleansing the day, I'm clearing my energy, and I am thinking on exactly the way I want my night to go and exactly the way I want my next day to go. And 9 times out of 10, that's how my day rolls out. And when you do this, you are in the creator's seat. You are in the driver's seat. You are in control. You are going from the inside out. So, and you're not going from the outside in. You're not, waking up, at the alarm,
checking your email,
checking emails, and then watching the news, and you're bombarded, and you're trying to get dressed, and you're running out the house. You haven't had nothing to drink, nothing to eat, to take into your vessel. Then you're in traffic, you pissed off, then you at work late, then that got you up here, then your first client of the day is in your face. It's just, you ain't got to do all that, because you can control all of that when you start from here and go all the way out. Wow. All right, so there's so much more on meditation, because like Russell said, it's not just sitting in silence for 8 hours watching your thoughts. That's one way, and that's a great way, but there's so many ways to meditate. I meditate walking. My house is a meditation. I mean, it's super quiet. We don't turn on the television. So you are in your thoughts here. You have to be in your thoughts here. So there's so many ways to create a life that includes meditation. If you drive to work and it's just you in the car, turn off the radio. Turn it off. Don't listen to what happened on the weekend and all that. That's your time to commune with yourself, to get into your internal and create the way you want your day to go, okay? Recharge and listen to the inner promptings. So that's important, because what's the point of meditating? Is to get the inner promptings.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So how do you know what's your inner promptings and what's not? So it's not, God doesn't speak in a loud voice. It's a download, it's a thought. Sometimes it's an action for you to move quick, like, let me do that, or let me call this person. It's something that comes to you that you weren't thinking of before. All right. But when you're out in nature, pay attention. Nature speaks to us all the time. We'll get downloads there. Russell mentioned if you're out at the ocean and you may get downloads and thoughts come to you. Those are all the inner promptings, and that's what you want to move on. All right. Goosebumps. You ever talk to somebody and you get goosebumps in the back of your neck or your arms? That's inner promptings.
Yeah, when you get those downloads, like a business idea comes to you.
That's inner promptings.
Yeah, like different things that come to you, and the hair will stand up on the back of your neck or your arms or whatever. And you tend to know what resonates with your truth.
Yeah. I want to mention another thing between inner promptings that's coming from your higher self versus the external world is that the external world will plant fear-based knowledge into you. All right. Your higher self is always going to be for you to do something in love or out of love. It's going to bring you peace. It's going to bring you satisfaction. The external world is always going to be in fear. All right. So when you hear that voice that says, you can't quit that job, you got bills to pay, that's planting fear. So that's coming from external stimuli. That's not your inner higher self. That's not your inner God. Your inner voice is going to give you solutions. You're going to find solutions. You may wake up and a solution is there, or you may dream about it. You may have visions about it. That's the inner calling. That's the inner promptings.
Yeah, and let me give you a prime example. So people who say are unemployed or their job, you're not sure if your company's stable and they're going to be around. and you turn the television on CNN, they're saying, well, you know, unemployment's reached a high, it's at 9%. And everybody's like, oh, it's 9%. But if you're very grounded and you're a solid person and you know who you are and you know what you bring to the table, 91% chance of me being employed, I like those odds. So, but you have to have that mentality, but it all starts in the mind, right? But it's like, I don't pay attention to any of that external stuff, people telling you what you can't do. You know, look at people like Steph Curry and, you know, people like Luther Vandross, like all these people who told you that you couldn't do something or you couldn't sing well enough or you weren't this, you weren't that. And all these people constantly defy the odds because they're internal, they're not external. They don't care what other people say. They
Yeah.
know who they are, what they are, they know what they bring to the table, and they know their drive and their
And they
discipline.
have a laser focus on getting to it as well. And we're not saying like run from the external world. No, we're saying
Master
it and balance it with your internal world, but make sure that the internal world is driving. All right.
Exactly.
That's it. And the last thing I want to mention is don't fill up every single day of your life, every single minute with stuff. Don't do that. That's definitely bombarding you with external stimuli all day, every day, with things that really won't help you. As I said, if it's on your purpose and if it's intentional and it's something, do it. But I know people that every single day, every minute, they got this meeting and that meeting, this function and that function, and they're exhausted. They're mentally, emotionally exhausted.
Busy with being busy.
Yeah. And you have to pull back those layers and figure out why you have to be busy with being busy. So those are just some things we wanted to quickly shoot out this podcast about living from the inside out. Russell, did you have anything else you wanted to share?
No, you know, we need to find a stopping point. We could talk forever about this, but
Yeah.
I think that is very important that people just get in touch with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, especially now.
Yeah. So guys, as always, we wish you a lot of love. We wish you a lot of light. Hang in there on the journey, okay? It's a lot going on. And truthfully, I think we're going to see a whole lot more because right now the mental is being exposed, all right? And that's because the earth is moving into a higher vibration. So we're moving from the physical into now the mental, emotional. And that requires everybody stepping up in their vibration. And in order to step up, you got to heal all those things that's been clogging the mental frequency. All right.
Go within.
Go within. So as always, this podcast, Matters of the Heart and Soul, is inspired by love, God, relationships, spirituality, justice, culture, family, children, finances, freedom, personal growth, energy and vibration, universal principles, health, education, masculine and feminine energies, music, and all things of the heart and soul. Please like and subscribe, guys, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Peace.